Okie doke. Hopefully I'm live and everybody can hear this for anybody who comes out and views this little test, this little surprise pop-up live stream here. Until I get some viewers here. So, in this little test live stream, I've been pretty quiet here lately when it comes to videos and the such. And the reason for that being is I have been working quite diligently on a hammer. So, a very ornate hammer. Hello, all 10 people. Carmelo Martinez, hello. Daniel Crawford, hey. Corey Shire, Matthew Barrick, Michael, Corey, Mr. David, Coffee Studios, hello, hello. Island Metal Forge, oh, hopefully I'm not over streaming you, Yamez. You're on Wednesday, right? Just making sure. Just making sure. I just figured I'd put up a little, I don't know, just a little surprise live stream. I'm not going to have a bunch of content over the next week or so just because I've been slamming out on this hammer. But I did want to show everybody a little bit of that process of work, what it takes to work on a really ornate hammer like this and do some bas relief engraving. So, but I'll go ahead and show you where I'm at right now. So, this side is unsculpted. Hopefully that camera will focus just fine. This side's unsculpted. This side is sculpted. So, hopefully you guys can see that, how it's got a nice 3-dimension to it. It's a little bright because of the light, but hopefully you guys can see that okay. So, half sculpted, half not. And where we're going with this is like what we've got on the bottom here. So that's where we're going. So I've got the bottom side done of this hammer here. I'm working on this side now, which happens to be the left side of the hammer. And I've already got the top side done. So that's the top of the hammer, bottom of the hammer, left side of the hammer, and that's the right side of the hammer with nothing done to it just yet. So lots, thousands and thousands and thousands of hammer strokes left to do. So yeah, so basically I'm working on this part right now. So I've just finished up doing this element. Now I'm going to do this element here and go on with my bad self. So I'm going to get locked up in the vise here and bring you all along for the ride for a little bit. Oh, mainly because I am not going to be able to put out any video content over the next week or so, just because of this bad boy. So right now I'm averaging about a day and a half of work solid per side for just the sculpting work, and I'm anticipating on the sides of the hammer, which there's more scrolls to do, I'm anticipating about 2.5 days worth of sculpting work that I have to put into it, and it takes about on the top and bottom, it took right around 3-ish hours to do stimpling, and stimpling's done with, and basically this whole thing has been done with really basic tools. That's what I've been working on. A lot of people ask me, oh, do you have like really expensive equipment? No, this is all done with hammer and chisel engraving. So I have some little tin cups with little chisels in them, all shop made them all here in the shop. You know, and so my stimpler is basically a bit of drill rod that has a really tight point put on it. You guys can't see it. Phones are really bad about that, getting up close details. At least this phone is, but you guys can see it there. So yeah, so I'll stipple texture the background, and what that does is that provides a place for light to go and bounce around and get absorbed versus getting refracted right back, and that automatically darkens out the background, which is pretty handy. By the way, can everybody hear me okay? Can everybody hear me okay? Hopefully this is coming through good. Oh. And by the way, hello to everybody. I'll get to people's comments and questions and all that good stuff. So, okay, cool. Everybody can hear me just fine. Good. So this is a low budget, just phone stream. It's simple. Don't got Jessica out here with me or anything like that. I've just been chasing away and just kind of getting my focus on. Usually I listen to podcasts and things like that while I'm working, sometimes music, mostly podcasts or audiobooks or audio dramas, things like that is what I listen to while I'm doing this type of work, which, you know, is very tedious and takes a lot. So, yep, Yamez, it is a phone stream. And hello, Troy. Good to see you in the house or in the shop, and Daniel Crawford as well, Mr. Coffee, Corey Shire, all the regulars. Good to have you here. So, I'm going to keep chasing on here a little bit. And I'll keep moving right along. So basically with this type of work, you're trying to set in hills and valleys is what you're trying to create. So you're trying to create different surface planes of reference as you're working. This is all flat. If you think of it as like a two-dimensional sheet, or it's just a flat plane, right? And yes, it's supported by a bunch of steel underneath, but it's just a flat plane. So I've removed the background so this way I have a little edge, a little 90-degree edge that I can catch and push with my tools. I can push that edge forward or hammer up underneath it and create undercuts and things like that. And so so the goal is to take that two-dimensional plane and then push it around into different three-dimensional planes. And the way that we do that is by having hills right next to side valleys. And that's how we get 3 dimensions out of this. And then when you work with compound curvatures, things like that, that really accentuates everything. That really accentuates everything out and makes it look really nice. So as you can see, I'm not holding my tool just flat on this, because just pushing the background down is just going to spread this piece out into the rest of the hammer, and it's just going to go flat on you, and you've worked to have an edge to catch. So what we first do is we just come in from the side, and you see I'm laying that down pretty heavily, and we hammer it back in towards itself. And what this does is this causes the material to upheave and push up onto itself like this, and then we can shape that. We can shape that lump that we've created into our different three-dimensional planes, which makes it very handy to do. It gives it a lot of pop, and it fools the eye. So that's what I'm doing with this right now, is I'm trying to push as much material as I can. I'm trying to upheave this material. That way I can shape this. DK Ironworks, how much for an in-person chasing class? I don't know. I would have to think about that. I haven't done any sort of chasing classes. That would be fun to do. I imagine it'd be charged out similar to how I do my blacksmithing classes or forging classes. So, yeah, Yamez, got to be real careful heat treating a hammer like this. Generally speaking, you can't do this type of work. You can. It's very difficult, might I add. It's very difficult to do. if this is already a heat-treated hammer because your tools aren't hard enough. So you have to do this soft and then heat treat afterwards, and it gets insane. I love it, Troy. I can chase you for free, but it won't be for long. I'm old. And I also think Rusty Hubcap was here. Hi, Rusty Hubcap. Good to see you in the house, by the way. So yeah, so that's kind of what we're always doing whenever we're doing chasing. I've had a ton of questions about chasing since I've been posting about this on social media, which is cool to see the interest in it. It's really a much larger topic than that can be covered in just explaining it out in an email. It's not a simple. It is a simple technique, but it's something that must be learned. You actually have got to apply yourself and actually put some time in learning how to do this. And everything's a little bit different. So, John Catt, metal engraving. Yes, this is what you call, this is a elevated form of metal engraving. So, the type of engraving that this is, so general standard engraving is surface level deep. Counted as decorative scratches on the surface, basically. But what this is this is what they call bas relief engraving, or bas relief. And so you are relieving the background. So all that material was peeled away before I got started here. Man, that light's really shiny on that thing. The way I've got it tilted there. There you go. Whew. So as you can see, so I removed all of that background material with engraving chisels. So I peeled away all the background. I went ahead and scraped, planished it, then scraped it down. So this way I had one nice even finish in the back, okay? And then, once that's done, now I'm doing this sculpting portion. And that's part of that bas relief engraving. So this is a sculpted thing. So I'm bringing 3-dimension. I'm actually pulling this material up. And you guys can't see it because the camera doesn't have depth. But this engraving sticks up proud of the surface of the original hammer because it's been pushed up and now it's proud of the surface. Because I took all that metal that was previously laying flat in plane, right? And now I've given it some dimension, and so now it's sticking above plane. I'm pushing it together, if that makes sense. There. So yeah, so technically this is engraving, but it's like an extra step higher of engraving, if you will. So, and yeah, and Rusty Hubcap, if you want it to ball peen texture it, you can do that if you'd like. I'll just hand it to you now, though, before I continue. So, I'll just go ahead and hammer you. I'll go ahead and give you the work now before it's finished. Great question, Yamez. How do you clean something like this after the heat scale? You can pickle it. That's the easiest way. Generally speaking, you want to avoid getting as much. You don't want to scale away all your detail work here. And so you're going to bring it up to the minimum necessary temperature to quench in. You're not going to bring this up to blistering hot where it's got blisters all over it and things like that. You're going to bring it up really slow to temperature and right at the right critical temperature to quench the stuff and not above and beyond. You're going to just get into the scaling heats, but you're not going to let it have soak time at critical temperature. You're going to bring it up to critical and you're going to get the thing quenched. Pickle goes a long way to eating and removing scale, and then you can just get in there and use a toothbrush and brush out whatever you got left there. So let's see here, John Catt. So once you remove the background, you are now working on the foreground and moving that material. Yep, that's correct, John. So now that I have removed the background, I'm working on what's going to be proud of the surface or the foreground that you're supposed to look at. And yeah, and that's the material I'm moving. I'm not moving the background. Occasionally I will come back in. With little small planishing tools, little small planishers and things like that, and come around the design, and I'll crisp everything up after I've sculpted the design. So another person had a great question here. Graham Pepper, don't sharp edges cause cracking in the heat treatment? That is a perfect question for this. Yes, it can. And so that is one of those things that you have to be very careful with. With something as thick as this, there's a flame hardening technique that you can use where you get the ends or the surface material hot while not really messing with the core that much. So you get the whole piece hot or up to just kind of subcritical temperature, and then you bring the faces up to critical and you just quench the faces. And then that way that helps prevent some of that stress from going into your designs with all your sharp edges there. Now, it doesn't take much to alleviate a sharp edge point where you could have some sort of crack go on or start to develop. You just have to smooth it off a little bit, use some planishers, and just kind of roll everything off a little bit. You can always come back once it's hardened and, re-crisp up your design if you need to. So sometimes I err on the side of it being soft with some soft edges. So in this particular case, what I'm doing with this piece is I'm actually creating a roll. So I'm trying to roll this, make it look like it's curled over like a wave down into the actual little 90-degree spiral here, the finial of the scroll. So I'm trying to create it to where it's rolling over and creating that three-dimensional effect, like as if you had a leaf and it just rolled over like that, like just curled over, if you will. So this brings up an interesting little technique that you guys can do. With your own work. Let me pull this real quick. And I'll answer some questions real quick while I'm doing this. Whoop! Pull this out. So, always checking it over to make sure I'm not crushing my design in the vise. I've got this heavily padded with some soft stuff. So, all right, so here we go. So this piece, let's see if I can get it to focus just right. Do you see how there's a colorization difference here to here? I know it's shiny, just stick with me. I need to remove that light. But do you see how it's darker on this side? Almost looks shaded, and it's brighter on this side? What is causing that is, do you see that line? Do you see that little break line where that starts? That break line right there is what you call a shadow line. Now, that can be any sort of facet that you can add to your ironwork. That is what sells the look. Remember, you're still dealing with a two-dimensional plane. The only thing I'm doing is I'm shoving what your eyes perceive as lines, thick and thin spots, highs and lows. I'm shifting those to give the perception of three-dimensional depth. There's a little bit of depth with it, but I am shifting your perception of that depth. This is still just as wide as it started. All I did was create a shadow line by sweetening up, by moving the outside line from an edge, like what you see here, in a soft two-dimensional plane, by giving it a bevel and pulling it up to the center line of this, I have now fooled your eyes into thinking that there is some depth there, like this thing is starting to roll up off of the piece. And that's really the secret to all of this type of work right here. You're pulling this, you're using this material, you're adding shadow lines, if you will. So you don't have to do that just for decorative ironwork, just things on chasing or engraving. You can actually do that. Roy's being shifty. Yeah, can't catch me. You can actually do that with your regular ironwork, and it's a very simple technique, really, really cool. Hey, thank you so much, Rusty Hubcap. Alan Schooner, God bless you, brother. Greatly appreciate that. $99.99. Everybody give Alan a round of applause. Old Rusty Hubcap there. Thank you. Thank you, sir. So, threw me off. $100 will do that to a fella. Thank you. Thank you very much. So you can basically create shadow lines in your work if, let's say if you had a base, right? A base that you're going to have for, I don't care what it is. Say a flower sculpture, or maybe even a knife stand, right? You're gonna have a nice display stand for a knife, and you have this flat base. You can create a shadow line in two simple ways. You can take that base and texture the edge, like hammer a bank, a bevel on it. And so instead of it being flat, where my knuckles are here, and that being your shadow line edge, which is a harsh edge, which looks kind of modern and doesn't look very blacksmith. But if you break down that edge now, it's still the same width, but now your shadow line looks big and fat. So instead of it looking like a tiny sharp edge when you're doing it, when you break that down, from that plane over now, that whole thing has broadened out and it's given the piece depth. It looks like it's raised up off of the surface of your countertop or whatever. Something else you can do, say it's not advantageous to put chamfers on your bases, what you could do to create a shadow line instead is you can actually come along with just a basic cold chisel. Just come along with a cold chisel and chisel a line right next, literally within the width of that cold chisel, right next to the edge, and it will make that thing pop. Your eyes will catch it every single time, trust me. Just try it on a random scrap piece of steel, chase you a little line, put you a little chisel mark, right? So take care, Rusty. Thank you, brother. Thank you for that super chat. Greatly appreciated. You can put yourself a little chisel mark right along a scrap piece of bar stock and then analyze it in the light. And you'll see that your eyes pick that up really quickly. And it's because you've created a shadow line. And so this type of work, we're just creating shadow lines. That's a lot of that. I know I'm simplifying it down. I don't mean to make it sound like, oh, it's just a piece of cake, everybody can do it, because it does take practice and skill to do it. It's just, in essence, that's what you're doing. You are just creating a bunch of shadow lines, right? Like you're trying to fool the human brain into perceiving three-dimensional shape. All right, enough of me waffling on about that. Like the Blade Runner buildings. Yeah, exactly. Bunch of clappy hands. Wayne Heights, God bless you, brother. Good to have you here. All right. So I have pushed my outside over to my center a little bit. I'm going to roll this down so you guys can still see a little bit about what I'm doing. Whoa. Come on now. This phone camera does not know how to do it. It's like, oh, here, let me blind everybody out. Now's the time to get bright. Oh, here, I know what the problem is. Give me a second. Maybe that's a bit better. There we go, it darkened out. It's got like an auto brightening thing. Yamez. The technique is simple. The art is putting the different techniques together with the artist's eye and skill. Yep. Sean Anderson. Hey there, brother. Good to see a lot of channel members in the chat, by the way. Glad to have you all here. So I've sculpted the outside to the center line, and that's good. That's where I want it to be. I want to keep pushing it over in the back here. Keep moving that shadow line right on over. And there's a reason for this. Pay attention to my chisel angle. It's changing with the shape that I'm trying to sculpt. We're trying to sculpt this. It's not coming in flat. It's not coming in at a repetitive 45. It's following the curvature and getting steeper where it needs to get steeper and shallower where it needs to be shallower. Okay. I have an untold amount of hours into this hammer so far. Let's just say an insane amount of hours. So now I'm going to use a little teardrop fuller tool just to get this started and established. And as you look at this, home front forge, awesome. So glad you got those. Sean Anderson, awesome, man. I'm glad those tongs got put together today. Hope they went well. He needs a day at a tropical beach. Roy needs a tan. That'll help with the white balance. Yamez, you mess up. Hey, I'm working on my tan. See, I went and got that. God, that looks bad. You don't want to see the rest of me. My neck, and it's the Scottish in my blood. I turn red, but I don't really tan. I turn red, but I don't tan. Fair complected. Irish, Scottish, and German in my heritage. All right. So what happens is as I'm using this little teardrop fuller, I don't know if anybody can see that. I know it's going to be fuzzy, folks, but this, again, it's a cell phone, so it's not going to be able to focus. It doesn't have a lot of dynamic range there. So I'm using that teardrop fuller. As I'm pushing down to impression this, it's going to squish things out. And so I need to take and bring it back in. So I'll do that with an undercutting tool, which is basically a butcher. It's got a single-sided edge. And I will come along the outside of this design, and I will scoop up underneath this and crisp up my line. And that's going to push that material back up that's wanting to lay out because I'm hammering it down. All right, let's see here. High Desert Forge and Ironworks. I mentioned it earlier. Thanks for the hammer. Mail see as something video to come soon. I got a few boxes to open, Roy. Awesome. Well, it's fine. I'm glad you got it. Yeah, Yamaha's looking like a toasted Pop-Tart. Sword Silk Train. I like pickles. Well, I'm glad. Oh, hi, handsome. Hello, Alex, Valhalla Ironworks. I missed somebody else's question. Let's see here. I believe it was Eric Douglas. If you answered it, I missed it. Have you used the extension yet? No, I have not used the extension just yet. I have been so crazy busy with this, I probably won't get around to it for another week or two, at least. I've been, basically, I have been married to this vise and in this chair for the last month. For the last month, basically. So, see what we got here. Awesome, Heath French. I'm glad that they're working out well for you. Your tongs there. All right, so I'm going to get up here and I'm going to undercut this. And by the way, this type of work, all hammer form and all that, it goes out the window. You have to hit things at weird, awkward angles because you're working around, you're creating a three-dimensional space with a two-dimensional plane. So you can just hang up the hat with having proper hammer form when it comes to this. There is no such thing when we're working on this type stuff. All right. The only thing I can tell you is you don't want to white knuckle it when you're working. You do still want to have a loose grip with your hammer. Homefront Forge, do you have anything special planned for the handle? Yes, I do. You all will find out once it's done. I've already got some awesome wood in for it. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. I'm keeping that part a little bit secret until the big reveal, once I've got everything done. You know, when I do stuff like this, it always amuses me. I haven't been on YouTube. Heck, I haven't even been in the comment sections or nothing here lately. Ultimately, when I do something like this, it ends up amusing me in the long run. That, you know, eventually I will have that one person that'll come along on just some video somewhere and basically tell me how much I suck as a blacksmith and I don't know what I'm talking about, you know, maybe referencing one of my earlier videos I put out on the platform. And it's inevitable every time, and I do mean every time I start on a project like this that's big and for a client. And usually I don't share a lot of these type projects because there's no value. Sometimes I'm not allowed to share. This I'm allowed to share. Other times I'm not allowed to share. So there's, I do get into occasional customer orders that are contractually, I'm not supposed to be blabbing all over the place my customers' details. Oh, will somebody get that, please? So I'm going to, there you go. Thank you, Yamez. Oh, nobody cares about hot girls online. Well, some people do. I don't. Oh man, I love this. This is looking so good. I got a little cornucopia thing going on here. Thank you, Yamez. Right on. I don't know if I need to delete them. I've already blocked them, so good. We're good. So anyways, yeah, so it's always funny that you get, see, troll. You get into something like this, and I'm just reminded of those things that it's like, yeah, YouTube's not real. You know, YouTube, unfortunately, is not real. Like, you might watch a 20 or 30 second montage of, 6 months or a year of somebody's work, and you can make your judgments based upon that. You're like, oh, well, that guy's not really any good. because blah, 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 or I would have done it differently. And you don't see all the back end stuff that went into it, you know, for the last year and a half or whatever they've been working on a project for. But yeah, it's inevitable. You get that. It's inevitable. Rob, good to see you, brother. You missed some good spam. Insanity Forge, hello, hello. Good to have you here. So we're breaking it down old school in this stream. There's no giveaways. There's no fancy pants Jessica making me look good. It's just Roy, raw and uncensored, unfiltered, doing boring things. This is one of those things that you do that everything is, your process is measured based on quarter-inch increments or less. 16th, 32nd, 64ths. That is what you're looking. I mean, that's your progress. If you want to measure your progress, that's what you're looking at for progress. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I moved a quarter-inch of material in the last half hour. I done pretty good today. A very slow, mentally demanding kind of work. But, oh man, the finished result is oh so worth it. Yeah, it's been really hot out there in Insanity Forge. Matt Stavely, I'm glad you've been learning a lot. Yeah, Wayne Heinz, surprise live streams are like Christmas. Hey, somebody gave me another super chat there. What did I miss? I missed it, or YouTube's not showing it. There we go. Ed Zimmerman. God bless you, sir. Thank you so much for that. Thanks for the tons of instructional videos. Much appreciated. Ed, so very much appreciated from you. That helps this type of content go around. I may not be a hot and spicy TikToker or whatever, or super awesome influencer. I've never really got on with my age class as much. Getting on with them more now that I'm older, but I've always tended to track the older crowd, and I speak slower, and I like going on little Roy rants and ramble, and that stuff isn't what you do nowadays. Yames, thank you so much. Everybody give them a round of applause. Thank you all for being here. Wasn't expecting any of that. I just figured I'd get in here and do a little impromptu thing. It's going to be a while before I was able to produce any more video content for you all out there, tutorials and whatnot. I have a video coming out on me making another hammer, a slightly, less decorative or less involved hammer anyhow. I do have one of those coming out, but it's just kind of like a quiet forging video. One thing I love about live formats, while I'm hammering this, by the way, I'm not looking at the chat, so I apologize. I'll try to catch up here in a second. One of the things that I love about live formatting of videos is I can answer direct questions, right? Like I can get in there and answer questions. As where I can't tell you how loathsome the task is to answer a 5-page question in a comment section. It's so difficult to get into. It's a very loathsome task because you can't explain out the finer details of what's going on. And with this type of work, There's a lot of fine details that are going on. That is way better explained, you know, if you can talk about them live. Yep, Yamez is all about them lives. If y'all haven't met Yamez or you don't know Yamez, you're missing out. You should go give him a sub. Same thing with Troy and Eli over at Bar Run Forge. They're great guys. There's a lot of good people over here. Pete Engelbert, thanks for showing up. God bless you. Hope to catch you on the next one when it's not so laggy. Oh no. Is it me lagging? No, it looks like I'm good. Shut it, Rob. Mr. 24 days to quad state. Don't remind me. I got so much work to do before then. So one of the challenges, yeah, hopefully I'm okay. On my end, it shows that I'm good on the stream quality, but YouTube has been known to lie before, so I take their information with a grain of salt. So one of the challenges with doing this sort of work is reach issues, right? So if you've got, so say if you have a bump, but you've got it set that you're going to sculpt, but you've got it set right by another bump, right? You have to choose which one of those bumps is going to be the either lower down or a valley, right? Because again, we have a flat plane and we've kind of got a chisel mark in between, right? So we've got two bumps. One of those is going to become a valley, one of those is going to become a hillside. And depending on where those at and where you're going to be doing your shaping, you may need to create your valley first so then you can overlap it with your hillside, your hillside. Likewise, it may be easier to work on your hillside before you create your valley because your valley might overlap the hillside a little bit. So you kind of have, as you go along, you got to watch for reach issues because otherwise you're going to have like 4,000 jasing tools that you're going to end up having to make and create because, well, you've worked yourself into a corner, right? And that's not where you want to be. You don't want to be destroying an element you've already sculpted in order to get in at another element. You need to undercut or something like that and put a bunch of jagged lines into it. Am I still going good? Comments are running shy there. Hopefully I'm all right. Yeah, if anybody hasn't registered for Quad State yet, you should. It's going to be a great event this year. I'm going to be there, hopefully. And, you know, good Lord willing, as I like to say. If hell don't freeze and the creek don't rise, is another way of saying it. As long as those things don't happen, I should be there. So just like in forging, the process of peening or fullering material works the same. So if you have, that's the plan, Yamez. That's the plan. Doing good, but laggy, but not too bad. Okay? I hope. Well, it says I'm good on my end. It says I got full bars, so. Graham, that's a good way of letting everybody know Blacksmith lives there. Roy's going to steal my thunder at the gallery with that hammer, LOL. Well, maybe. Oh, Rob, Granddad's Forge, hello. Good to have you in the house this evening. Surprise, surprise indeed. So I'm just cleaning up my fuller line here a little bit. It's looking good. Good. It's working into this other piece. So as I was saying, if you have a chisel or a little tiny fuller, you can use that in hammering rapid succession to fuller material one direction. If you have a ball fuller or something like a round, it works like a ball peen. It's going to spread the material in every direction. So you can use that to your advantage, right? Sharper peens are going to create deeper impressions but less spread. Broader peens or broader fullers, they're going to push more to the sides and less deep impressions. So there's a lot of things that you can do to use those techniques to your advantage in the long run when you're doing this type of work and sculpting stuff. It's very handy. So all those fundamental techniques still apply here, but they're just done cold. And in a different process called chasing. Another thing, if you do go on to trying to do this kind of work, making this style of ironwork, it's very imperative that you never work flat, straight up and down. You always want to be working at some sort of angle as you round pieces. That's what fools the eye into, this thing being three-dimensional. This little bit of a cornucopia thing is looking absolutely choice. We'll see you back in a minute, Yamas. Yep, Debak Maker, it's Tuesday. It's a surprise stream. Yeah. And tomorrow is? Heath French. I live in Australia, and there's so many cool events that I hear American Smiths talk about, and they sound cool, and I haven't heard of any big events in Australia really because of COVID. Yeah, that's sad. There's, this year it's good that they're doing it this year. I was surprised that they didn't go for the shutting it down again this year or not, with all the new stuff going on around this world. Here's hoping they still run it. I know they're still running it right now. Last year they let everybody know about 2 months out in advance that it wasn't going to happen. So they're definitely doing it this year, which is a pretty cool event. Now I will say, I don't want to get super political with anything. That's not what this channel's about. In fact, I can't even really discuss a whole lot on the whole vid that's been going around, because the censors, as they be on YouTube, they monitor that sort of stuff and demonetize you. Unless you're a news outlet, a trusted source of information. But what I do have to say, about it, though, is like, America gets a bad rap a lot of times. Like every country, every nation on the face of the earth likes to kind of rap on America a little bit and laugh at our downfalls and our silly TikTok people and all these other privileges that we get to enjoy here in America. But when things really do hit the fan, there's no better place to be than America, right here in the United States of America, where freedom is free. It costs somebody something to provide us that freedom, and it's worth us continuing on to this day. Now I know people will have their differing of viewpoints on that based upon your region, and you know, different people may have wronged you in the past or this or that, but for me, I'm unapologetically an American, and I'm proud to be. You can look at if you look at all the places around the world, everyone has problems to different varying degrees and severities. People like their representatives, people hate their representatives. People are fickle. That's just in general. So one day we like you, the next day we hate your guts. That's just, it's called human beings doing human-y type things. So, but yeah, you know, glad to be an American. I'm glad that, you know, there's plenty of people willing to, you know, still do stuff and still have freedom. Freedom costs $1.05, $1.05, huh? Oh, but I definitely feel for all of the people around the world, for sure. Take care, Justin Ray. See here. I'll go back and read those other stuff. So, yeah, Granddad's Forge. Rob, we be stupid blessed. That's a good. That is a good bar run Forge staying. We be stupid blessed indeed. Indeed, good sir. Okay. All right. I'm going to show you what I've gotten done so far. Matt Wyeth. This is not a hammer I'm keeping. This is actually a client's hammer, and it will be on display at Quad State for their gallery. And who knows, we might even put it on a little show circuit at some point at some different galleries around at some different blacksmithing events. We will have to see. That will be up to the customer and their choice. So, hopefully you guys can see. So I'm going to go, let me see here. Let me go, boop. Can I? Sorry guys. I did it before where I got it to focus. All right. It's clear? Good. It looks fuzzy on my end for whatever reason, but you see the little cornucopia thing on the end there. So, somebody get rid of that. Apparently they opened up another spam bot account. Awesome. So I think you guys like that. So as you can see, it's really hard to show on details. So I've got this perfect little spiral going. There we go. Maybe roll it around a bit. And you see how it transitions. This is all flat, right? Non-sculpted. And how it rolls up into something I've just spent the time, you know, sculpting up here. Looking like a proper saddlery crossing or something. Don't know what that is, so. Yeah, pretty neat, huh? How it rolls it over. Again, that's still a two-dimensional plane. We just put our shadow lines in the correct places. Give it that shape. And this is proud of the surface now. You guys can't really see it. You see it right there, just barely, on the sculpted bit? See it across here? And then all of a sudden it goes flat. I don't know if you guys can see that. See how it's just sticking up there? It's actually proud of the surface, which is cool. For that is what we are going for. Good sirs and good madams. All right, how are we coming through? We doing okay? Matt Wyeth, I'd love to see you engrave a hammer or an anvil. Granddad's Forge. Just hope nobody enters something Tom Latine made. Yeah. Then that'll, if Tom shows up this year, I'll probably be host. Oh. In all actuality, though, I'm not really interested in winning anything. That's not, like, this has to be done for the client, and it's been a 2-year-long process getting to this point, and so I'm not really interested in actually winning anything. That just happens to be a bonus, right? That just happens to be a bonus for me. If something were to win something. But I've been burnt too many times in the past where I've put my heart and soul into something purely basically trying to get, for competition's sakes, to win something, win an award, win a prize. And the only prize I won was a bad attitude that my item didn't win. So I don't I don't put a lot of stock in that in my work. Nowadays, I used to do that a lot. But, it's always nice to win something and, have the admiration of your peers, right? It's always nice to do that. It makes you feel good on the inside. But at the end of the day, you've got to be happy with yourself where you're at and what you're doing with yourself and your life and your work. And just be pleased that it's done, right? Be pleased that you're, be pleased in your work. Be satisfied. That's the word I was struggling to find. The more satisfied you can be without all the adulation of others with the things that you are doing, the more well-rounded you're going to be and the more capable in the long run. It's a hard thing to learn, but it's a lesson that needs to be learned nonetheless. Dan Roswood, good to see you, brother. Been a long time. Hi, Desert Ford. Roy's in competition with Hans. LOL. No one can be in competition with Hans. Looks like another great piece. Still have that test piece you gave me showing the difference between engraved and chased. Awesome. Glad, Dan. Glad you have that. Yeah, Wiley, it can be, in certain fields it can be great to enter stuff. If you win a blue ribbon, you get a blue ribbon, right? You can say, oh, I'm a blue ribbon winner at the whatever, local county fair, or, whatever event you entered into. Oh. Graham, I'm glad I've got your admiration, sir. At the end of the day, it kind of comes down to what's more important in life, right? We make up a big deal, and I do, and I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of this in my past, and I'm still guilty of it to a degree today. It all depends. We like to put a lot of effort into things that ultimately don't matter. One day we are all going to meet our untimely demise, or timely demise, depending on where we're at, and whatever your outlooks are on that. And at the end of it, at the end of the day, how much of this sort of stuff is really going to matter? It's not up to you to choose that. You may be seen as one of the greats someday, one of the greatest blacksmiths maybe who ever lived. Who knows, right? But the things that matter most to me is like my family, my legacy of my children, right? One day I hope to have children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren and just provide them a life that I didn't have growing up, not to my parents' fault anything like that. Again, they were only able to step off the backs and, obtain a certain quality of life that their parents never had before them, so, but those things are really the only kind of things that matter is, moving that next generation on to the future. And that's what I love about teaching so much, is teaching, I get to teach other people techniques that they can then go on and it'll outlive me, I would hope or think, at least for one generation or one individual that found it interesting enough to learn it. And who knows where that may go. And I might be teaching somebody young, might be teaching somebody old, all different walks of life, but that's how I can have impact and change. And that's what I appreciate, the ability to do. And I'm proud to be called a YouTube blacksmith for that purpose as well, just because I have access to be able to teach folks and do so much more than me just being an obscure smith somewhere that does amazing work. And you'll find this in an archaeological dig someday, half melted or whatever, right? Iron and copper and gold and all the pretty and fine things and wood and timber and all these things of this world will all pass away. They'll all go to nothing at some point, turn to dust. From dust we came, dust we will turn. So really the only thing that lasts is the impact you have on the lives around you right now in this moment. And that's what I like to do, is influence that. Techromatic, thank you for being here. And good luck getting the little youngins off to school. Eric Douglas, did you make the hammer? And is it soft or hardened? And what do you make your small chasing tools from? Small chasing tools are made from any bit of tool steel I can get laying around. Mostly coil spring is what my chasing tools are made of. And yes, I made the hammer and it's soft currently before hardening. Yeah. So when it comes to stuff like quad state, when it comes to stuff like entering your work, the important part is just to be proud of the thing that you've made and enter your work. Because everyone has just as good a shot as this does at winning, because at the end of the day, art is subjective. So, where somebody was like, oh, well, hey, that's a fancy little hammer. He probably used a CNC engraver to engrave that. All right, moving on, right? And then they come to something where you made a bottle opener, maybe you just did a really good job of some forging on it, and people like that better. And there you go. Your bottle opener wins it all, or, takes home the prize or whatever. Blue ribbon. It's just the way it works. So, Bill, good to see you. Howdy, howdy. All right, that's looking pretty good. Trying to just get this undercut right. And prick it up just right. There we go. Without whacking on my other bits and bobs. Good. Back onto my chase, my flat planisher. As you can tell, I shut up and it got intense. I'm being careful to shape this thing appropriately. Watching out for it. Sorry to hear that, Rob. Good little side conversations going on. It's good. Does anybody have any questions for me? Hear my kids outside running around. Getting some playtime. And questions about chasing. Maybe. Debaka Maker, great question. The angle I attack the chasing from is whichever angle is necessary for the curvature that I want. So it's flat, I'm deciding how I want this scroll to look. And I'm angling and I'm constantly pitching and rolling the chasing tool as it's needed. So, Charming Hollow Forge, hello sir. You are not too late for these shenanigans. Good to see you in the house, Hans. Speak of the devil, the winner chicken dinner. They were accusing me earlier, Hans, of being in direct competition for direct competition of you this year. At Quad State in the gallery. And I said, there is no competing with Hans. Oh. All right, I should probably give it a little bit of an explanation of what I'm working on here, what part I'm actually working on now. So I'm very carefully shaping. I've got most of the shaping done. Now I'm just planishing it out. So I'm working, get me a little pointer here, a little pointer tool. I'm working on, oh, come on. Light is terrible in here for this type of thing. I'm trying to get it to where I can even see it myself. So I am working on this little bit here. So I'm providing the cups, just like I did over here. I'm putting in the fullers, putting in the fuller work in the lobes. Not all of these lobes get cupped like that, just the ones that I want to make a peel looking like they're curled up from that. So, Heath French, what's the hammer you are using? The hammer I am using is just a little piece of 1045, not hardened. It's a non-hardened hammer because it's striking hardened tools. And so it's just a bit of 1045 that I slugged a hole through. So, no, it's too late for me to be up. Oh, okay. Looks beautiful, Roy. I won't be entering anything this year. That's sad, Hans. You enter such gorgeous work, brother. Well, maybe next year. You save up all that God-given talent for next year, huh? Make it twice as epic. All right, so that's what I'm working on. I'm getting in here with a small fuller and then working that out and planishing that out. So I'm just starting from one end and I'm going to work my way around the scroll. We will probably not do a live stream all the way that long until it ends, until I get that much done, because this is going to be a whole nother day of work just to get around that scroll. You guys can see how it's already taken so long to get here. It's twice as big, but not sure as epic, huh? Well, almost used the wrong tool there. So there's a little secret to Quad State, and just about any gallery you get into, really. If you're trying to win a prize at, say, a state fair or at a blacksmithing event or anything like that, you have one of two routes to go that increase your odds dramatically. You either go super detailed, like what I'm doing right now, so very high skilled precision, like joinery or something like that's really nicely done and carved on and smooth and clean and things like that, right? You either go for that or you go for large. You go for like wow factor. If it draws the eyes when it's sitting in the room, that's what you're going for. That's what will give you a better, odds of winning. And that's what made Hans's sculpture do so well, is how could you not look at it in the room of all this other beautiful ironwork that's going on? How could you not look at it? It was a great, really great sculpture, doing the Indian headdress, or Native American, I should say, headdress. And yeah, it was one of those things that it caught your eye where it was positioned everywhere. It was just nice. Way to go, Hans. No one will stand a chance then, brother. Oh. Heath Wrench, take care, brother. Thank you for being here. God bless you. So, somebody asked if I'm using a teardrop fuller for that. I'm using a really small fuller that's rounded off just so I can kind of sculpt along the sides and push material around. I come back in later and I planish it off with a teardrop fuller. So I'm working with a fuller that's small enough to stay within the confounds of the line that I've fullered out on this piece. Now, generally speaking, there is a limit. There is a limit that you can do on this before things start cracking, right? So you do have to get the work done somewhat efficiently. If you're not too careful, you've got this edge that was once flat like this. Now you've pushed it up like this. Now you've domed it over like this. Now you're pushing it back like this, so on and so forth, and then it starts snapping off because the material work hardens over time. So you do have to get the work done efficiently, and you have to planish it out nicely and do the work that you need to do with it, and then stop, knowing when to stop hammering on it's the trick. Love that, Rob. Why? Making a leaf. Random question. Would leather stamping transfer well to engraving metal? Kinda. You could get so far with stamping. If you think about leather, hand tooling in leather, it would transfer somewhat pretty well. From what I know of leather, it's mostly an impressioned type deal, and it's not too much pushing and sculpting and mushing stuff up. So as long as you kind of get the idea that you're working with a bit of plasticity in the steel and you're able to push that plasticity around, right? If you got a lump, right? If you got a lump sitting on that surface, you can push it this way, you can push it that way, you can flatten it out, right? You can concave it, you can pyramid it, you can do all these different shapes with it. And when you apply all that together, that's what ends up making that final product really pop and look amazing. Now I'm working on the little leaflet behind it, giving that some curvature and some angling. If I'm missing anything, everybody yell at me. Hans, thank you so much, brother, for stopping in. God bless you and your wife. I hope you all are, and your kids, I hope you all are doing really, really well down there, my isolated friends of the South. Oh, you're very welcome, Zach, if you're pointing that at me. Rob, you're more mad you couldn't respond like you wanted to. Meth grandma. You guys are something else. Robert Whitney? Yep, I am live. I'm just busy playing around with some steel tonight, chasing a hammer. It's a lot of boring work, just having good conversation though, with a bunch of friends of the forge, which is very enjoyable, might I add. So a lot of this stuff, I can't even feel when I'm doing it. I can't even see when I'm doing it because the punch is just as big as the work to be done. But I can feel it. I can feel how it's moving in the hand. And, I'm playing off of that. It comes a long, long way from being flat. Just creating those little shadow lines and refining the shadow lines and keep doing it. All right, so let me roll this up here. I'll take a break from hammering here for a second and answer some questions. Rob Huff, I do have a forging question. I'm making a hardy tool for my anvil that is basically just a square block to forge on. I wanted it for crisp edges and smaller stuff. But what the heck is it called? I mean, some people call them a butcher block. I don't really call it. I just call it a hardy block. That's what I call them. Nothing special. You can call it a riser. That's fine. Yeah, I just call it an anvil hardy block. That's what I call it. Basic descriptor. Nothing too fancy. Set block, that'd be another good way of saying. Wow, 30 watching and 47 likes. Bunch of people jumped in. I'm surprised there's 30 watching. It looks like there's only 26 on my end. Yeah, hardy block. That's just how I do it. Just a hardy block. Most of our tools, you gotta remember, guys. Most of our tools in blacksmithing are self-explanatory type things, right? Like these aren't things that guys spent hours upon hours on end trying to come up with some ingenious name. Most of the time they're descriptive. Hammer, right? Like chasing hammer. Like that, they apply whatever the name is, that they call it simple. There are a few tools out there that seem like they have weird or odd names, and that's just simply because people talk differently, historically speaking. So they called it different things across time in their particular dialect or language or whatever. So a fun one, so it all kind of comes back to technical jargon, if you will. So a fun one for me, tell you a bit of a history story here, is for instance, when I was doing heating and air conditioning work, we used stuff where it was, this person. Port that person. All right, let's see if that'll help. We'll see. I think I get this person out. Nope, that's unhide. I want to hide them. I'm glad I saw that one before I got off here. I'm glad you did too, whatever that is. Jeff Gillian, glad you got home. So, yeah. So, for instance, when I was working in heating and air conditioning, that was a very interesting time because there was this one stuff. We called it mastic where we were at in Colorado Springs. We called it mastic. The technical term was, 181 mastic. That's what it was called. It was a sealant that you would seal up all your joints with. Some people called it duck butter in different regions of the United States. Other people called it pookie. When I came out here to Ohio, when I came out to Ohio, I live in Michigan now, it was called pookie. I'm like, some guy told me, go get my pookie from the truck. I'm like, what are you saying to me? I mean, it took a hot minute. So jargon, technical jargon is one of those interesting things that doesn't matter so much unless you're trying to convey very specific ideas, right? Yeah, Daniel Crawford, I don't know what's up with that. It's just probably the same. It's probably the same channel, just a bot, spam bot. All right. Y'all let me know if this is very boring and unriveting content. I know it kind of is. If it gets too boring here, we'll dry it up. Yeah, so the spammer that was just on there, did my best to remove it and everything else. I'm just going to let my mods keep up with that. I'll let you guys keep doing that. Some sort of bot of some sort, I'm sure. Keep getting different accounts. Go figure, huh? YouTube. To be fair, granddads, yes, you don't see rivets. Yeah, just kidding. No, it kind of is. Yeah, somebody else caught on that. To be fair. Troy and Eli getting into the stream still. I don't know where them boogers are at, but they're getting a lot of mentions on this stream. They were here earlier. That's what it is. Put them in everyone's minds and hearts. All right. Cool. So I've got that lobe sculpted now. Yep, the sign changes colors. Pretty neat, huh? Yep, Rob Huff. Although I don't have that software hooked up right now, so it doesn't change colors when you send super chats, but I like the way you're thinking. Granddad's trying to get hay cut before a hurricane. Woo. Is that what they're doing? Sketchy. Oh noes. Sorry that I had to leave. I found out that I had a leaking pipe above the ceiling in my bathroom, and I had to remove some sheetrock and put a band clamp on it. Man, that sucks, John. Hope you like sheetrock work. That might be a jerk statement, but I mean you're kind of stuck with it, aren't you? I hate sheetrock work myself. All right. Can you see how that's starting to sculpt out now? Looks nice, huh? Yeah, that is one thing I will pay for. Yeah, sheetrock work. By the way, I can do sheetrock work, but that's kind of like people who say, I could do that, blacksmithing. It's on that level, so don't trust me to do anybody's sheetrock work. Good question. Joshua Rivas. Is there a good starting point you'd recommend for doing this kind of decorative work? Yeah. So, great question. For anybody who does this. Oh, somebody's done it for 45 years. Well, more power to you. If it makes a good living, then makes a good living. Really can't argue with that, can you? All right, great question by Joshua there. He asked, where do you get started doing this sort of work? And that's a wonderful question that hopefully I can answer here and stop repeating myself like a politician trying to avoid answering the question. So the easiest way to start is you need some foundational tools. You need to create yourself a butcher tool, which is, do I have a bigger version of it? Yes, I do. I've got a bigger one here. You need to create yourself a butcher tool like this. It could be bigger at first, and then you can work it down to smaller ones like this. A butcher tool is any tool that has a leading edge. It has a sharp edge to the edge. It might be slightly domed or rounded or whatever, and then it has a flat, and that pushes material away while leaving a straight wall on something when you chisel into a piece. You're going to need a butcher tool to start. You're going to need a fuller, a handheld fuller of some kind. Again, if you're trying to do bigger designs at first, you can use bigger tools and make bigger tools until you're ready to do small stuff, all right? And then you're going to need a planisher. You're going to need a little square planishing tool like this. It's just nothing more. It's been squared off. The corners have been relieved and slightly polished. And that is to smooth out the background or to push material away even further and level it out as you scoop it over. That's it. That's basically it. There's some custom tools you can make that are very helpful when you get down the road, but if you want to get a start in it, you need those 3 basic tools first. You don't even have to forge these. You could grind these. You could just take a bit of tool steel, grind that off at whatever that is. I don't know. It's not a lot. It's whatever that percentage is. Somebody tell me what that looks like. It's not a 45, but this doesn't matter. You can change this pitch to suit yourself and the work that you're doing. I have steeper angles. I have shallower angle butcher tools. That's what you need. So if you get yourself a basic punch set, you probably even get yourself a punch set from Harbor Freight. I hate to say it, but you can. You go get yourself a basic punch set from Harbor Freight, check to make sure they're good and hard, and then grind or just file. Go ahead and file up your shapes on your ends. There you go. That's your start. Doodle you something on a piece of steel and start. That's the big key to taking and getting involved in this type of work. There's only so far that can take you before you need to take a class with somebody who knows how to do this type of work, mainly because if you want to do what I'm doing here, you're going to have to get a class with somebody at some point or gain additional knowledge. Most of my chasing work I've learned from Tom Latinay. he does this type of work. It's how I style it after, but I've learned from Sam Alfano for engraving work. I've watched several little, I don't even know, French tutorials, so I don't even know what they were saying, but I was just watching like bas relief engraving videos, and I moved on with stuff like that, right? Jeez, those spam bots are horrible. Yeah, Rob, you need to do this stuff. Yes, Corey Shire, you do need to have a solid understanding of how metal moves as well. This is one of those things where everybody falls asleep during my videos. And if you want to learn, if you truly want to learn, I have an entire playlist and video series, on chasing work that does not get love and does not get a near enough use and attention, and I get asked questions about chasing all the time, and it just does not get the attention and the love that it deserves. So please go to Christ-Centered Ironworks on YouTube, and in the search bar, do Christ-Centered Ironworks and chasing tools, right? And it will pull up an entire playlist of how to make your butcher tools, how to heat treat. It'll pull up everything on different things you can do with them, projects where I've done chasing. It's all outlined. There the best I can. I would like to do more video content like that, but what made me step away from it is because it's not Damascus and because it's not a knife, nobody watched those videos and YouTube buries them. So most of my videos, sadly enough as they are, they've only, finally he mentions the playlist. I've been screaming at the monitor. That's right, Rob. So sadly enough, most of my videos only get between 30 and 50% audience retention. So that means people are watching a video that's a tutorial and they click out. The majority of people, okay, because that's the average, click out at 30% through the video. And that counts against you too if you skip. So I don't know how many people picked up on just the bullet point topic points, and maybe they got enough information that they need, and that's fine. But for a 20-minute tutorial, or say a 10-minute tutorial, that means somebody only watched 3 minutes of a 10-minute tutorial. It's better when I get half. Ideally, your sweet spot, if you want to go viral on YouTube, is like 70%. If somebody watched 70% of your video, you're considered you're doing good, right, for retention rate. But those videos I'm talking about, those chasing videos, they've got like 15% view duration through them. So people they really don't like the chasing. They like the chasing, they just don't want to learn about the chasing while they're busy scrolling along on the internet. So Billy on Air, I'm glad you love those. So I might get back into doing those type of videos, even though that they are they're just going to tank on views, so to speak. And people say, well, why do you care about views, right? Thank you, Corey Shire. I'm glad you did. I'm glad I guilt tripped you after my rant video. The reason why it's important is YouTube has a certain amount of your attention span that they're trying to grab. And so they will shove multiple things in front of your face. And if these 57 items did not do well, they don't ever recommend them to you again. Or they might try it once again and see if you're interested, and if you're not, they will not show that content to you anymore. They're trying to get you on hook to watch the platform as long as you can. That, however, is a problem for an educational channel like mine, where I'm all about education. I don't do a lot of flashy videos. Occasionally I'll do some clickbait, but surprisingly enough, rant videos are my best videos. They are me sitting, running my mouth to the camera like I'm doing right now. They do the best because the thumbnail is very, clickbait centric, right? I sit there and, I don't know, don't do this, right? Stupid face, the whole bit, right? And bam, people click it, people watch it, they get like higher audience retention, and then people will complain I don't do enough tutorial videos, and I'll put out a tutorial and it'll get 30% audience retention and the views will tank, and then it sits for like 6 months with 1,000 views on it for a channel of 76,000 subscribers. It only gets 1,000 views, which is like nothing in the world of views. Their channels have way less subscribers than we have here on this channel that get way more views on their videos than we do. And again, it's just, going into these type topics, they're needed, right? It's needed out there. Otherwise, this type of work gets lost to the annals of history. So, does skipping ads negatively affect a channel? Not really, not really. It just affects what they show you in ads. Yeah, High Desert, Forge, and Ironworks, I hate those clickbait thumbnails on videos. It's good to hate the thumbnails, don't hate the creators though. And I hate to say that because, I have to say that because the YouTube dictates to the creators what you, the viewers, like, based upon data. If it's fluffy kitten videos and you ain't making fluffy kitten videos, you ain't popular and you're not going to get circulated. That's how it is. If they say clickbait where somebody's going and making a bunch of bold claims in their thumbnail, if that's the only way to get you in, YouTube has prioritized clickbait right now. That's what they've prioritized. It's a wrong move, I think, on my end. But again, YouTube's not there for the educational thing. They're trying to scream out into the void with all these other news outlets and all the other sensational type stuff and try to get people on platform watching videos mindlessly. And that's not always conducive when you are an educational channel. So don't hate the creators for having to use some clickbait. That's just the way it rolls if you want to have your videos seen by anybody. So I was going to do a little funny parody video, and I might still do it, but I was going to make a very audacious claim that's totally outside of my character, and then as soon as everybody clicks on the video, I was going to say, "You've been clickbaited. Stop being a part of the problem." Right? Because at the end of the day, if you watch sensationalized content and that's the thing that gets you to click, you're like, what? People in Arizona are living on food stamps? Click. You're part of the problem. You've been part of the problem. Hey, Roy Roll. Yeah. Yeah. So brings me to my next topic. The reason why I said that I'm thinking about going back and doing videos on stuff like this, even though that views-wise they're not doing so well, is because in the earlier days of YouTube, there wasn't as much fan support other than just our really diehards that were watching every video all the way through. Now we have things like the super chat on the live streams. We have the channel memberships that help out like you wouldn't believe around here for making this type of content, and so many other things. We have the blacksmithing blanks that we sell, that are a great option for people who are getting into that. We have that kind of going on, and there's people who buy our digital downloads and things like that, and that funds the channel in such a way that I don't necessarily have to care about how many views I guess I'm getting on a video, right? So I can dive into topics like this and just do them because, right? I can just say, you know what? No, I'm interested in this topic, and I think other people, like-minded people, would be interested in it too. No, it's not Damascus. No, it's not a knife. No, I'm not making a zombie slayer or anything like that, right? There's no shock and awe here. This is just pure ironwork. The work is speaking for itself. And so, for that, I'm finally, we're getting to a place now that I can actually get back to doing I can do that kind of content and focus on that. And that I'm thankful for. Yeah, High Desert Forge, yeah, the scene that's not even part of it. Yeah, that's true clickbait. Enticing thumbnails, they're one thing, but they're always on that line, right? They're always on that line. They're that clickbait line. Some people will say, oh, he said, wow, check out this. He's clickbaiting, he's a spammy guy, get rid of him, right? I'm not going to watch that guy anymore. And other people, they're like, that's not clickbait at all. So, to each their own. There's different people with different opinions on stuff like that. That's right, Joshua. You keep that up, brother. You heat me? Rob Garner, what's going on? Bacon. Scrapple. Jessica and I have really been super blessed to just know the people that we have had the pleasure of knowing here on the platform of YouTube. A lot of you gentlemen and ladies out there have been absolutely amazing to us. And, we can't thank you enough. We're proud to get to know you and, proud to do what we do here online for sure. So, Henry St. Forge, I'm doing good. Yeah, Billy on air, Damascus bacon. Roy's secret Damascus bacon recipe. See, to get interest in a video like this, like if I was wanting to do a full video build montage and get wide, broad circulation, I would have to do something that would be somewhat true. I bust my hand at least once a day doing this type of work, smack a finger or whatever. I could just be like, I mashed my thumb, and then there'll be people who will click just because I had a stupid thumbnail, when really the severity of me mashing my thumb, I mash it all the time. It's not yeah, it hurts, but it's not a big deal, right? It's not something along those lines. And you'll see certain creators take that to an extra level, right? They'll be like, I went to the hospital for this, right? Right? They're like, I went to the hospital for this. That's clickbait. That's real close, right? And it's did they go to the hospital though? Well, they went to the hospital, but it wasn't for what you were thinking. The thumbnail, the way they set it up, it made you entice you. I could be like, that thing almost electrocuted me as I point in some random direction, and it could be I could be talking about, the angle grinder or something that was sitting in the background, right? Having a faulty electrical cord. But because I said that, then people will watch it. It's so frustrating. So frustrating. I wish you could just name stuff what it is. French, Baroque, iron. Everybody ooh, I love that. Yeah, Rob, it doesn't actually hurt. No, yeah, that is. It's inconceivable. It's like fake news. Yeah. John Cat, I am glad you're enjoying the fly press videos. Do you have or use a treadle hammer? I do not have a treadle hammer. I have used them in the past, but because of my specific back injury I had from years ago with a car accident, I can't do a whole lot of work with my hips. So lifting my leg up to do things like that isn't good for me. So you keep using that word, inconceivable. So I'm shaping another little lobe here, another little cuppy lobe. riveting content. It's going to be on the front of all Google search engines. You just watch. I'm going to have all the sponsorships you can handle. People are like, Roy, how did you ever do it? How'd you get so big? I say, well, it was my chasing content. That's what it was all about. Tap, tap, tap. Fly press you got is pretty awesome. Yeah, it is. It's a nice one. I really like it. I was on the fence when it came to fly presses. I happened to have the money at the time to go for it, so I just went for it to see how it came out. And it's, I love it. I love the fly press. It does a good job. Now, most people think, well, oh, Roy just uses the fly press all the time now. No, it's just a tool. It does certain jobs really well, and I'll use it from time to time, but not all the time. It's just a tool. I still do a lot of hand hammering. Packed my treadle hammer away, felt like a drunk trying to use it. Too many things moving at once. Yeah, well, it takes a bit of a knack to it. If you don't have a lot of control with that, you have to work within your capabilities. So you may want to, if you feel like you don't got a lot of control, you may have to try to sit on a stool, use dies, use closed die work, things like that. Now, I've heard they're really good for doing like chasing work and stuff like this. I kind of half believe that in a way. I kind of half believe it. The type of chasing work I'm doing here, you couldn't hold your stuff at a diagonal and whack down on it with a treadle hammer. Impressioning or stamping type work, I imagine they're really great for that. Granddad's Forge, yeah. Hand sanding can be fun as long as the conversation is fun, right? The people are there. I find hand sanding absolutely boring. I've had to do a ton of it. Just like hand scraping on this thing is like absolutely boring as all get out. So, Thomas, thank you, brother. Thomas, the illustrious hand model, coming in with that $5 super chat, supporting the stream. Thank you, brother. Greatly appreciate it. The ibuprofen will be needed. Everybody hand clap for Thomas. That's right. So, speaking of fatigue, when doing this type of work, it's very intense. It's pretty stressful. You have to kind of really do a lot of focusing on what you're doing. And sometimes that can lead to you kind of just cramping up. You're holding in tight, things like that, right? Yeah, Thomas, blast air horn when you drive by. So you can cramp up and get real tight on stuff like this. So you do have to be careful on that about fatigue. It starts affecting your work. So once you go so far with it, you got to learn to know your limits and call it quits when you need to call it quits. Your flappy hands need some sun, brother. It's the lighting, guys. It's the lighting. It's so bright in here. Debauch Maker. Do you find that your fingers go numb? Yes, they do if you overdo it. So that's where you don't want to be. You don't want to overdo it. Axel Heinz, awesome. So glad to hear that your power hammer got up and running. So I like to say this about tools. You all have heard me say it time and time again, many, many a times. Tools are tools. That's all they are. They're a means to an end, right? It is not the smith. It's not the tools that make the smith. It's the smith that makes the tools. I like saying that because there's nothing truer you'll find in this trade. And so, you know, they're there to help you out, but they're not necessary. As you can see, I'm doing this with just a hammer and chisels. Hammer and chisels. And, you know, if I had something else, if I had some pneumatic engraver or something, it might be helpful with a little planchette and stuff like that on a pneumatic system. Might be beautiful, wonderful, might save some fatigue time. And then again, it might be too much for what I'm doing. So, you know. Your skin reflects like the moon. You're a jerk. Oh, dude, that's the comment of the night, man. So messed up. Ah. Let's see here. Debaka maker. Basically watching that other guy engraving a sword guard. I think not, man. Any word on where the touchmark book has landed? That's Yamez's department. I'm not quite sure. I think the last time I heard it was getting sent back to Yamez from Big Dog Forge. They were trying to work some stuff out to get it sent to a few other creators, but it kind of fell through or something like that. So I think it's going back to Yamez, if I'm not mistaken. And then we'll be finding another destination from there. Yeah, I was looking at all the great work that, you know, John Switzer did to it, and you know, Tim at Big Dog did to it. Like all I did was stamp it. You know, I was kind of lazy when it come to it, but kind of hit me right in the middle of a very stressful point in my work. So missed my timer by 3 seconds. There's a whole village of Fumbles people out there somewhere, I'm pretty sure. Probably. Cool. That was sure. I admire what Tim and John Switzer were able to do with it. Unfortunately, when I got the book, it was kind of like one of those things. It was sitting on my shelf, sitting on my shelf, sitting on my shelf. I'm like, I've got to get this thing out my door, because inevitably, as soon as I agree to something, work pops up, right? And then it's like, it's like, okay, well, maybe I'll get to that tomorrow. Well, maybe I'll do something with it tomorrow. I was planning on doing some engraving or something to it, just to add my own little touch. And then, yeah, that just never happened, never transpired. And then now I'm super swamped with other work. So that's how it works. I'll agree to doing some sort of project, and then that project won't work out. I'll have something else pop up immediately after said agreeance. But it's at least got my touch mark in it, which I'm proud to have in there. Got this really tiny little detail on this one leaf I'm trying to shape out. It's looking better. Rob Huff, I did. Daniel Crawford, any thoughts on Good of the Land next spring? Not sure. I may be going to Havana next year to their event that they'll be doing. So I'll have to see. tentatively, I may be in Texas next year. So, tentatively. John Cat, take care, brother. Thank you for being here for as long as you were. God bless you. All right. Get to the point I need to decide which side I want to continue to work on here. Yeah, Michael Robertson, it is awesome to keep it rolling. Like I said, I didn't do that good of a job of it. Wish I would have done a little bit better job of it, but, you know, I did what I could anyhow, just to move it along a little bit. Other people have done way more than me. I'm just proud to be part of the process. Takes a lot of sculpting. Debauch Maker, take care. Rob Huff, that's awesome. Well, maybe if I end up going to that event, then that will be sweet. Get to hang out with you there. Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure, Daniel, where that event's at myself. Alrighty. Put my little touchy touch, so. More news. Any thoughts on the current world situation right now? I have plenty thoughts on the current world situation of where things are at. I just don't tend to express them on my YouTube channel. And I do that for several reasons. One reason that I don't do that on this channel is I predominantly keep this channel mainly centered on blacksmithing, the topic at hand. So that's kind of my main focus in general on this channel. I like it to be open and for anyone they can watch and feel accepted and all that other good stuff here. So I just try to keep it all about blacksmithing here on this channel. I don't try to talk about politics or world events or things like that. Graham, thank you so much for being here. God bless you, brother. I hope you're all right. Let's hear. If I do want to say anything, say anything about world events, is I just think we need a lot more love in this world. No matter what your position is, no matter what your belief, stance, political party, yada, 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 yada. I think the world, it's easy for us to lose empathy for other human beings and have, lose sympathy and to be able to do that for other human beings. And that would be a big travesty to let the powers that be ruin that for us. So that's why I like here, at least on my channel, I do try to keep it drama-free for about 99% of the videos if I can, for that reason. I think that it just kind of ruins, there's too much stuff going on already in the world that kind of ruins your faith in humanity. It's nice to have a place to come, a group of people to hang out with that are all there for one common goal and on something that seems like everybody can agree on, as long as you don't get into the topic of heat treatment or something else. What anvil's the best? Stuff like that. So But God bless you, brother, and thank you for asking the question. Oh. These are such small details on this one end, I might actually have to create more tools. So, Dennis Pennington, thank you. Yeah, debauch maker, preheating anvil. So now I'm still here. The cats never voluntarily come inside for food. Well, good to have you here. Let's see here. How do I want to do this? Yeah. I'll shape it like that. Why not? If anybody's joining us for their first time here, welcome, by the way. This is not a normally regularly scheduled broadcast. We get into all sorts of good stuff, high production value and the whole bit. So, hello, Kansas Prairie Forge. Good to have you. Mill Run Forge. Great question. Temperature right now currently is sitting right around 58 degrees. So I love it. And I'm still breaking a sweat, wearing a short sleeve shirt. It's been really hot this past week, and now we're going through a bit of a cool down, so I'm happy for it. Yep, need a tool, make a tool. I think somebody asked earlier, oh, why is that? Because I didn't plan for it. Yeah, so with work like this, you design something. Ultimately, it's easier to take and design something bigger than, have your eyes bigger than your belly, so to speak, right? Like when you lay out a bunch of food on your plate at Thanksgiving and then you overstuff yourself to a point that you almost are sick, same thing. You design something really elaborate because it's pleasing to the eye, and then you realize none of your tools fit, and you end up having to make more tools, which is yay, we get to make more tools, right? And then I have those tools for the next project that won't fit, and I'll make more tools. So you'll have some that are universal and work and some that won't. So fingers one. Okay, they can do it. Exactly, Billy. Cool. People having secondary conversations there. Great. If you all have any questions for me specifically directly, and I haven't answered them or whatever, you can always put that at Christ Center Ironworks or Attention Roy or whatever. And if I see them, I'll answer them when I can. Now I'm getting at the point now where I'm kind of getting a little bit of fatigue setting in. So instead of pushing it too much on the small details, what I will do instead at this point is I will just do what I call like a rough in. I will rough in the details, and later I come back and I'll finish out even more. Make better daylight, better hands. Right now I'm pretty good as far as hands, but I have been sitting at this one spot for like 9 hours or so today. It's a lot of work. So I'm at that point now where I'm kind of starting to suffer from that fatigue, and I can feel it setting in. So you don't want to be trying to do technical. You don't want to be doing really difficult work. Debauch, you're going to get a blood clot, man. Oh. Jeremy Dodd, you can read about my You can read about my testimony in a long, detailed format over at my website, christcenterironworks.com, if you want to go check that out. I have a whole about me and kind of what got me started and how I came to be. So go check that out. So you guys can see that there. Glad to have you as part of the channel, by the way. God bless you. So you can see where this is still flat, right? You can see where that's still flat, and then you can see where it's sculpted. I'm glad you like it. So as you can see, it's kind of hard to see right now everything because everything's shiny, right? Cool, goldsmith, yeah, work steel like this. It just takes longer. It's just, that's all. So you can see how all this shiny, the background's shiny, the faces are shiny, everything's shiny, but anything that's sculpted is kind of darkened out. Well, we can accentuate the background to make the foreground pop by stimpling it. And so as you can see, that's changed that a lot drastically. So this is already all sculpted, and then it's been stippled in the background. And the light hangs up in these little, dots of the stippling, and it gets absorbed by them because it's not a flush reflective surface, and then that's what makes this whole thing pop out. So eventually, that's where we're going with the hammer. This is where we're at currently on the side. This is where we came from, with everything lined out and the background removed. So from where we came from, sculpted, then stipple work, and then finally our finish work, where we'll darken out the background and, put that sucker on a gorgeous hammer handle. Yeah, if only the camera could see what the human eye can. Yeah, I'm pretty. Thank you all so much for the kind words. Thank you so much. I do appreciate that validation of the ironwork that I'm doing here. This is, bar none, this is the finest hammer I've ever made, as far as detail work is concerned, that I've put into it. I've done various levels and degrees. It's always been more on the lighter side, and I wanted to do a panel hammer, and I'm glad I did and went for this route because it's absolutely stunning. Only sad part is it's not going to be swinging at my anvil. That's the only sad part for me. I'll end up having to make another panel hammer at some time, and make something similar but with a little different techniques on it. So yeah, so there you have it. Let me roll this up here. I'll talk a little bit and then we'll call her an evening. So let's see here. Yeah, the stippling makes a great difference. Kansas Prairie, what plan to darken it? Most likely it'll be shellacked in the background. I'm going to gun blue it, and then everything that's proud of the surface of the background is going to be polished to a mirror finish. So let's see here. Thank you. I'm glad you appreciate it to see the work being done there. Debak maker. Woohoo! Congratulations. I'm glad you got paid. How many hours into this? Oh, that's a good question. So right now, the amount of hours that I have into this thing is I believe, so right now I'm sitting at I believe I'm sitting right at about 85 hours. So 85 solid hours of work. That's into it currently. When I get it done, I'm anticipating when it's fully finished, hung on the handle's going to have sculpting done to it. When everything's done and it's a finished hammer, I'm anticipating right around 125 hours. I'm hoping to hit that mark. We'll see. I thought that ignorantly, very ignorantly, you always have hope, right? You always have hope that it's going to go well. I thought that the chasing of the details, that when I got to the sculpting bit, that was going to go quicker, right? That was going to go quicker. It didn't. It didn't. It took a day and a half, and I mean a full day, like a 10-hour day, a 10-hour work day and a half. So 15 hours or so to do the sculpting, just the sculpting. And then I had about 3 hours in there. So about 18 hours is what I ended up having before I had it all stippled and sculpted. So originally I estimated it was going to be about 30 hours per side, roughly, is the way I was thinking. It was going to be about 30 hours per side by the time it was forged, background removed, sculpting, stippling, finish worked, bluing, right, all that. I figured about 30 hours per side, and it looks like I'm hitting that mark pretty close. So I know that's kind of like a roundabout answer, but I kind of have to take you on the journey with the math so you can see where it's at. It's too easy for me saying 2,000 hours a side, and that's not really a thing, and I haven't worked at it. This thing has been a in the process 2-year endeavor. From the forging of it, which isn't all that hard, actually forging the hammer thing, but just drawing out designs, finding what would work for the space, refining that, stepping up to the plate, saying, chickening out, not doing it again. I had a couple failed attempts before this one here. Yeah, it's been a 2-year process to get to this point, and I'm putting the final bit into it now. So I've been working on and off on it for about 2 years to varying degrees. Yep, Mr. Crawford, I'm going to carve the handle too. I don't know how much detail work I'll put in the handle. I won't go overboard. I might add just a little bit of carved woodwork to tie it in. I might add a little bit just to kind of tie it in, and that way it's not just a plain hammer handle into a thing. And then it will be, well, basically it'll be oiled, beeswaxed, and polished. So it's going to look sharp. So the hammer material the handle material is going to be going into this hammer is very gorgeous. It's going to incorporate curly maple. There's going to be some curly maple in it. Not going to say what the rest of it's going to be. So, are people bidding on this? So, yeah, more Musa, you're more than welcome to be here. If English isn't your first language, that's perfectly all right, man. Just speak what you can, and we'll try to answer what we can. Welcome to the channel, and so glad to have you here. So glad to have you here. Hello, all the way from northern Michigan in the United States of America. We can because it's already sold, LOL. Yeah, that's right. Bid it up all you like. So I've got some pretty insane hammer designs in the future that I'm going to make. There are those pet project ones that I don't care. Rob. Shush it, Rob. Yeah, your English is way better than mine. Oh, but anyways, there's some hammers that I'm going to make here in the future. They're pet project hammers that I've already got designs for. I just need to incorporate them and actually just go after and doing them. They're going to be very sculpted like this as well, and they're going to be those things that I make, and I don't care if they ever sell because they're just mine. If somebody came along with a big wad of cash and wanted to offer me it for it because they wanted to have the hammer for themselves, then great, I'll do it. But the really highly sculpted hammers and stuff like that, I'm going to start doing them for myself. That way I can have some really pretty hammers. Up until this point, the most sculpting I've done on my own hammers was this little beaut here. I was just playing around with a little, Tom Latine-esque style hammer, right? And I did some little stuff on here, played around with some stimpling. Can't see it too now because it's just basically it's all rusty. Rub this off. Maybe that highlights it a little bit better. So that was way back in the earlier years. This hammer's 5-6 years old now. So it's seen a lot of use. I just wanted to play around with the design. But yeah, so I look forward to doing more sculpted hammers in the future. I've got plenty of other things on the go as well. Making a fluffy kitten from iron. No way. And surprised face in the corner. Exactly. I start doing that, somebody punch me. If I start doing that, somebody punch me. If you see a video like that, don't take the video seriously. Because everything that follows, if that's in my thumbnail, everything that follows is an absolute, just a gag. That's how you could tell between the serious videos and that. So, was that a cross on the hammer? Yes, it was. My earlier touch mark. Where did we see that at? Was that on the bottom? I forget where I touch marked it. Yeah, it's right there. Very faint. My earlier touch mark was just a simple cross. That was it. My one now is an anvil with a little cross in it that I made myself. And then Thomas Goodymoot, he actually bought me a touch mark. That's my logo. It's my insignia, which is really, really cool. Let's see here. JTHM 2011. How are you enjoying Michigan? It's been about 2 years since you've been there. I love it. Can't say enough about it. I love it. I am pretty tired. Milk Dud, he's tomcatting around the neighborhood right now currently. But no, he's still around. He just likes to sleep a lot, and we feed him a lot, and he's fat. What's the square root of pi squared? 3.14. There you go. Don't ask me. I am not the guy to ask math questions about. As everybody in the community can attest, I screw up math questions often. Roy is not the guy. So, any hoozles. Yeah. Did I get it right? Yeah, so this is a commissioned piece. So this is a commissioned piece, but it's also for show as well. So, guy who commissioned it is also a blacksmith and wants me to show it off, for a show thing. And he gave me full artistic license, which is a thing you should never do for an artist. Never give me full artistic license, folks. Never. Mill Run Forge. How do I make a touch mark? I have a video on that. How to make a touch mark. Video series, actually. All you gotta do is punch in the name and just Google it. Chrysler Ironworks, touch mark. playlist, and it'll be there. Simply to just answer it in here, you have to create a negative space if you want something positive on the piece. You have to create a positive space if you want a negative space on the piece to reflect the opposite. Thank you, Henry St. Forge. Corey Shire. Hey, Roy, did you give up or finish the handheld jeweler's vise you were working on before the move? Y'all want to see it? I finished it. It only took me like 4 years to finish it. Stand up here a second. Let me put down this mic. So for those of you that haven't been around, we made this in several live streams. I finished up this hacksaw. So that's all been finished. Decorative hacksaw frame. It's a little rosette on the end. I've got a much more decorative one than this planned to be made, but it'll be a while before I get around to that. And here's the finished product of the handheld jeweler's vise that I made. This was like several live streams. We got away from it for like 2 or 3 years, and then we went back to doing some live streaming on it, and then to make up some other components, and then I just finished it all off camera because it was a heck of a lot easier to do so. So as you can see, hold it up against my apparently moon-like neck that everybody says, my moon-like skin, so you can see it close. There you have it. The back nut does turn a little bit. So there you go. Nicely finished. Kind of got a neat little knurled knot on the back. Kind of some faux roping up here. Yeah, the moon. Acorn style things. These are, again, these were all made, for those of you who remember, these were all forge welded on here. Those were little collars that got forge welded. Yep, Baroque sign bracket took precedence for urgency sakes. Well, thank you. I'm glad you all think it turned out very well. Oh, and then I used some, I don't know what this is, but it's some spalted, I believe it's a curly maple, but it's got some spalting in it. And that just polished out beautifully. I love that. So that was a fun project, have that done. The hacksaw was a fun project to have that done. So yeah, looked like maple to me as well. So yeah, so those are just some of the things we're doing to get on to all that good. Get on to all of that goodness. It's superfragilistic, supercalifragilistic, espialidocious. Oh, man, Daniel, you're on it. Good job. Way to go, Rob. Can you make me an offer on that? Probably not. Aimless. Yeah, Roy, your skin is almost as white as a 40-year-old that lives in grandma's basement and played Call of Duty all day. Gee whiz, that's messed up, man. You know what? I'm actually tanner this year than I've been in other years. So I don't know what the heck you guys are talking about here. This is not even right. You guys are going to make me all self-conscious. Not that you just rub some forge dirt on me before I get started on these little deals. How about phantasmagorical? You just did that on purpose. Yeah, it's just the angle of the light to the hole in the roof. That's right. That's right. Tinkered's Forge, good to have you here. Yeah, 2 years. Crazy, huh? This is insane. The shop size here is insane. I'm so thankful for it. I am. At the end of the day, we're gonna hook that right on there. Like, we're gonna go for a bit of a ride there. Hopefully I don't break up too much. I'm gonna move this. See? Pretty darn big shop. We're not even looking at the peak yet. There's the peak. And there's those lights that make me look like the moon, okay? It's like, you guys are rough. You guys are rough. Good thing I'm a big boy. I got big shoulders, huh? And I can take it. Oh. You all are welcome. Tinker It's Forge, you're very welcome for the surprise stream. Thank you all so much. Thank you for the channel members, by the way. For those of you who are new, the guys that have those little flaming anvil icons, they're channel members. They're people who decided to take and support the channel on a monthly basis and have their names added to the channel member wall, which is awesome. And I can't thank you all enough for that. There's still more names to be added to it, so we're going to be doing another name stream at some point, which is cool. But yeah, that channel member wall is filling out nicely. I like it. So thank you. Thank you all for being here. Yeah, the first shop videos were about the size of a container, and it is. It's like about the size of a shipping container. Nick B, can't stay, but I stopped by to drop a comment. Keep up the good work, Roy, and I actually LOL'd at the title. I'm glad. Nick B, good to have you here. Trailed us. Glad to see you getting in here at the tail end of this stream here, sir. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Joshua. So, Mill Run Forge, how do you save electricity? Turn the lights off. That's about it. The lights, all my lights are LED, so they don't use up a whole lot. I'll notice a small peak in my electricity bill when I have a month where I have a ton of fabrication work to do, where I'm doing a ton of welding, but it's usually not that much. Even with the plasma cutter, with the CNC bed, the plasma cutter I have in the other side of the shop that you guys aren't seeing right now, which is the fab shop, that, like, even with that, it didn't raise my electric bill that much. It raised it by, I want to say it was 30, 40 extra bucks a month. So it's really, really, really not that bad. At least up here, it's not that bad. Daniel Crawford, I paid off the ranch. Yippee! So soon. I'll be able to join soon. That is super awesome. Way to go, Mr. Crawford. Everybody give Mr. Crawford a hand of applause. You've been paying on that thing for a while, haven't you? Since, Quad State 2-3 years ago, was it? We had that talk about that? Yeah, Corey Shire, it is nice having a little more intimate conversation and doing streams like this. So, not having 500 people. I wish we had 500 people in a stream, but we only have like 130-ish. So, we did have some streams where we had 500-600 people, but people kind of got bored of winning swedge blocks and anvils, I guess. Kansas Prairie Forge. When am I going to start running my classroom in my shop? Well, right now I do private lessons for somebody. I can get people on schedule. I'm only doing like 2 or 3 of them a year, though, just because of the way my timing has been on trying to get work done and other stuff like that. I hope to do more of that as time goes along. Maybe do, 4 or 5 potential students at a time and go down that route a little bit, maybe once or twice a year up here. By the way, it's Cousin Ben. I know you forget my dumb username. Wanted to also let you know Alex is pregnant and he will be coming December 3rd-ish. Very awesome to hear from you, cousin. That is awesome, Ben. Congrats on the new little one. December 3rd-ish. That's awesome. Something in the water in Ohio. My other cousin's having a baby too. Glad I moved. I'm happy with my 3. Good to see you on the stream, Ben. Hopefully everybody's doing well. Yeah, everybody say congrats to Ben. Don't have to remember his stupid username, his JTHM2011. That's my cousin. Oh. Knocking them in for the home team, eh? Oh. Robert Lannis, yes, I did get your sticker, though. Yep, did get your sticker, and it will be going on old Blue back there very soon to cover the blue. Yep, beyond you, behind you, he lurks. Milk Dud. Cleaning himself currently. Love you too, brother. Love you too, cousin. Take care, buddy. Give the wife a hug and kiss from me. Very welcome, Rob. Good night. All right. Looks like everyone's getting ready to head on down. So let's hear. Rob, I don't have a shop sticker. I would send you my band stickers, but might not flow with the ambiance. Send me your band sticker. I'll stick it on there. And if it's too risque, we'll cover parts of it up with other people's stickers. Be glad to have it nonetheless. Yep, the Milk Duds making an appearance. Good night, Tobacco Maker. Milk Dud, how dare you? They can see you bathing. Go get some privacy, brother. He don't care. He'll lick it all right on front of camera. Good old Milk Dud, though. Yep, good old cameo. He does that from time to time. So, all right. So it seems like a lot of people are checking out. That's a great way to just say, we've been at it long enough. Let's go ahead and end it here. I had a real fun time with you all this evening. Thank you all so much for the support and showing up for the stream. I know this was an unplanned, unfiltered, unedited, everything type stream. It was fun. Thanks for keeping me company in the shop. I'm going to head in and go grab me some dinner and take a load off for the evening and start this whole process again in the morning for another 10-hour shift of sitting and chasing. So now you all know why there hasn't been any content on the channel for a little bit, and there won't be for probably another week or so until I have time to film some more stuff off. So thank you everybody for showing up. God bless each and every last one of you. I couldn't be more pleased and more wholeheartedly have so much gratitude for everybody who spends so much of their time here with us here at Christ Center Ironworks. So again, thank you all so much. You all be good. We'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.